What if rock's most peaceful anthem was forged in a studio war zone, where former lovers hurled insults between takes? Fleetwood Mac was imploding, every relationship shattered, shouting matches silenced only by recording lights. Yet from this wreckage emerged their only #1 hit, a mystical 10-minute creation. And decades later, a broken-down car would resurrect this heartbreak ballad for millions. This is the story of how dreams transformed pain into magic. Fleetwood Mac began as a British blues outfit in the late 1960s, named after drummer Mick Fleetwood and bassist John McVie. After years of revolving members and missed opportunities, everything changed on December 31st, 1974, when they added Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks as a package deal. Their 1975 self-titled album was a massive success, hitting #1 and spawning hits like Rhiannon. But as Stevie Nicks would later reflect, they had too much to lose. Success became a trap that allowed their personal relationships to crumble without professional consequences. By 1976, as they entered the luxurious record plant in Sausalito to record their follow-up album, Fleetwood Mac had become a human soap opera. John and Christine McVie had quietly separated after 8 years of marriage. Stevie and Lindsey's relationship had blown up, filling the studio with shouting matches that ceased only when the red recording light came on. Mick Fleetwood was dealing with his own romantic chaos, having divorced and remarried his wife, Jenny Boyd, within months. Yet, they made a collective decision that would define their legacy. Channel this raw emotion directly into their music. As Nicks stated, "The truth about Rumors is that Rumors was the truth." Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The studio became a therapeutic confessional booth, where each member sang directly to and about the others. Lindsey Buckingham poured his anger and resentment into Go Your Own Way, a biting, accusatory track that included a line Stevie very, very much resented, an accusation of infidelity that felt like a public humiliation. The atmosphere in the studio was so charged with tension that even the technical crew could feel it. Sessions would stretch deep into the night, fueled by cocaine and wounded pride. Band members would arrive at different times to avoid confrontations, yet somehow they managed to create music together when the tape rolled. The professional masks they wore during recording sessions barely concealed the raw emotions bubbling beneath the surface. While Lindsey crafted his sonic attack with meticulous precision, spending countless hours perfecting every guitar lick and vocal harmony, Stevie found herself increasingly frustrated with the technical obsessions of her former lover. She wasn't into the technical end of the music, and often felt bored out of her mind as the others pursued sonic perfection. This creative disconnect mirrored their personal one, where once they had been collaborative partners in both love and music, now they operated in separate worlds, communicating only through their songs. Her escape was a side studio, a mystical space that had supposedly belonged to Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone. Decorated in black and red with a sunken pit containing a piano and a large black velvet bed surrounded by Victorian drapes, it was the perfect retreat for an artist who had always been drawn to the magical and mysterious. It was in this otherworldly retreat that magic happened. Sitting on the velvet bed with a Fender Rhodes keyboard, Stevie found a simple drum pattern and, in a moment of pure intuitive creation, wrote Dreams in just 10 minutes. The song flowed through her like a channeled message from somewhere beyond conscious thought. Dreams wasn't an angry retort to Lindsey's attack, it was something far more profound. Where his track was sharp and vindictive, hers was calm and almost mystical. The opening line spoke of letting someone go, of accepting their need for freedom without bitterness. Her chorus delivered a universal truth about love's impermanence, a philosophical meditation that transcended their personal drama. The song became a quiet prophecy, a gentle reminder that thunder only happens when it's raining, and that players only love you when they're playing. It was wisdom wrapped in melody, speaking to anyone who had ever faced heartbreak. Despite the pain between them, there was a moment of grace that revealed the complex bond underlying their music. Stevie recalls handing a cassette of the new song to Lindsey, who, even though he was mad with me at the time, listened intently, looked up at her, and smiled. In that fleeting moment, their mutual respect for each other's artistry transcended their personal animosity. When Stevie first presented Dreams to the full band, their reaction was mixed. The others were initially unsure about the merits of the track, finding it perhaps too simple and repetitive in its raw form. This skepticism created a pivotal moment. What would become their biggest hit was nearly dismissed. But Fleetwood Mac's collective genius lay in their ability to recognize potential and transform it. The process of building Dreams into its final form became a masterclass in collaborative artistry, with each member contributing essential elements that elevated Stevie's intimate creation into a universal anthem. Mick Fleetwood's drumming became the song's hypnotic foundation. Initially approaching it with a more folky sensibility, he and Lindsay deliberately crafted a more rhythmic, dance-influenced beat inspired by the Bee Gees' Jive Talkin'. The steady, almost mechanical pulse created the perfect bedrock for Stevie's ethereal vocals to float above. John McVie's bass work was deceptively simple, but crucial, a subtle, droning foundation that gave the song its meditative quality. Meanwhile, Christine McVie, who initially found the track uninspiring, gradually warmed to it, particularly the harmonies. Her contributions on Fender Rhodes, vibraphone, and organ added layers of atmospheric texture that gave Dreams its otherworldly shimmer. Perhaps most remarkably, they preserved the raw vulnerability of Stevie's original performance. Rather than re-recording her vocals for a more polished sound, they kept her initial unfiltered take from that mystical session in Sly Stone's room. This decision imbued the final recording with an honesty and tenderness that no amount of technical perfection could have achieved. The collaborative process revealed something profound about Fleetwood Mac's dynamic. Even as they were tearing each other apart personally, they retained an almost sacred respect for the music itself. When the red recording light was on, their personal battles ceased, and they became conduits for something larger than their individual pain. The release of Rumors on February 4, 1977, marked one of the most extraordinary moments in music history. The album's success was immediate and overwhelming. It shot to number 1, won the Grammy for Album of the Year in 1978, and would eventually sell over 40 million copies worldwide. Critics praised not just the songs themselves, but the seamless way personal pain had been transformed into a universal art. Dreams emerged as the album's crown jewel, released as the second single in March 1977. It faced stiff competition from other tracks on the album that were also destined to become classics. But there was something special about Stevie's quiet anthem that resonated with listeners in a way that even the band couldn't have predicted. On June 18, 1977, Dreams reached the summit of the Billboard Hot 100, becoming Fleetwood Mac's first and only number 1 hit. The achievement was made even more poetic by an extraordinary coincidence. The song reached the top on the exact same day the music industry was celebrating the 29th anniversary of the introduction of the 12-inch 33 1/3 RPM long-playing record. This synchronicity felt almost mystical. The LP format had revolutionized music by allowing artists to create cohesive, album-length artistic statements that went beyond the limitations of radio singles. It was the perfect technology for an album like Rumors, where each song contributed to a larger emotional narrative. That Dreams, a song that took its time to build emotionally and reveal its full power, would reach number 1 on this anniversary, seemed like the universe acknowledging the perfect marriage of format and content. The success proved something profound about the power of vulnerability in art. While Lindsay's more aggressive Go Your Own Way became a rock anthem, it was Stevie's gentler, more philosophical response that captured the public's heart completely. In the battle between rage and grace, Grace had won decisively. Dreams transcended its studio origins to become a living, breathing piece of theater every time Fleetwood Mac took the stage. For decades, the song remained the emotional centerpiece of their concerts, transforming from a private confession into a public ritual of healing and connection. What made these live performances so compelling was the way Stevie and Lindsay continued their conversation through the music. Years, even decades after their romantic relationship had ended, they would stand mere feet apart on stage, singing the songs born from their heartbreak to audiences who could feel every unresolved emotion hanging in the air between them. During tours like The Dance reunion in 1977, 20 years after Rumors was recorded, Audiences were still entranced by the raw emotional electricity between the former lovers. The songs had become a form of public therapy, where old wounds were reopened and examined under the bright lights of arena stages around the world. Stevie would often introduce Dreams with stories about its creation, sometimes revealing new details about that magical 10 minutes in Sly Stone's mystical studio. The audience became part of that narrative, witnesses to a love story that had been transformed into art and then into collective memory. The live performances of Dreams proved something remarkable about the song's power. It wasn't just about Stevie and Lindsay anymore. It had become a universal anthem for anyone who had ever loved and lost, anyone who had found wisdom in heartbreak, anyone who understood that sometimes the gentlest response to pain is the most powerful one. These concerts created a unique form of intimacy between the band and their audience. People would come to hear the hits, but they stayed for the emotional catharsis of watching five people who had turned their personal disasters into transcendent art. The most remarkable chapter in the Dreams saga began not in a recording studio or concert hall, but on a highway in Idaho in September 2020. Nathan Apodaca, a warehouse worker, faced a problem that would have frustrated anyone. His car had broken down on his way to work, but instead of letting it ruin his day, Nathan grabbed his longboard and a bottle of Ocean Spray Cran Raspberry Juice and decided to make the best of it. As he skateboarded down the highway exit ramp, he pulled out his phone and began filming himself. While the morning sun cast long shadows and a sense of perfect calm surrounding him, he took a swig of his juice and began lip-syncing to Dreams. The video lasted less than a minute, but it captured something magical. A moment of pure, uncomplicated joy in the face of life's minor disasters. The video struck a chord with the world that was deep in the chaos of a pandemic. People were isolated, anxious, and desperately seeking moments of peace and normalcy. Nathan's simple act of finding happiness in an inconvenient situation became a symbol of resilience and optimism that millions craved. The viral explosion was unprecedented. The video garnered tens of millions of views within days, inspiring countless recreations and parodies. People from all walks of life began posting their own versions, skateboarding, driving, walking, all while lip-syncing to Stevie Nicks' prophetic words about dreams and rain and thunder. But the real magic happened when the music industry took notice. Dreams suddenly found itself back on the charts for the first time in decades. The song received 8.47 million streams in a single week in the United States, its highest ever streaming numbers. The entire Rumors album re-entered the Billboard 200, proving that a 43-year-old album could still capture the zeitgeist. The most touching moment came when Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks themselves joined TikTok to recreate Nathan's video and personally thank him. Here were rock legends, veterans of decades of music industry chaos, humbly acknowledging that a warehouse worker from Idaho had given their masterpiece new life for a generation that hadn't even been born when Rumors was recorded. The phenomenon revealed something profound about the timeless nature of great art. A song written in 10 minutes during a bitter breakup had found new meaning as an anthem of simple joy and perseverance. The themes that made Dreams resonate in 1977, finding peace in chaos, accepting life's ups and downs, the cyclical nature of good times and bad, were exactly what the world needed to hear in 2020. The ultimate resolution of the story behind Dreams lies in its lasting message and symbolism. The song stands as the definitive answer to the raw, angry challenge posed by Lindsey Buckingham in Go Your Own Way. While Lindsay's attack was an attempt to have the last word, a final bitter statement in a broken relationship, Stevie's response transcended the immediacy of their personal breakup. Dreams was not a retort, but a meditation on the nature of loneliness and loss. It spoke to universal truths about human relationships, that players only love you when they're playing, that heartbreak is temporary, and that wisdom often comes through accepting rather than fighting. The song's enduring legacy and remarkable modern revival prove that a quiet, haunting response can resonate far more deeply and for far longer than any angry shout. In the battle between Lindsay's fury and Stevie's grace, grace ultimately won. not just commercially, but culturally and emotionally. Dreams remains a testament to the transformative power of channeling pain into art. Born from complete emotional and professional chaos, it became an eternal anthem that brings comfort to generations of listeners. What part of the story of Dreams captures you today? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more music documentaries.